its neighbor Afghanistan after launching widespread airstrikes. Pakistan says it is in retaliation for a cross-border offensive by Afghan Taliban forces, while the U.S. has backed Pakistan's right to self-defense against the Afghan Taliban government. The UN has called for an immediate ceasefire. Pakistan says 29 locations across Afghanistan, including the capital, Kabul, and the Taliban stronghold of Nangarhar, were subject to aerial bombing. Government spokesperson Mosharraf Zaidi posted on X that Pakistan's swift and decisive response to aggression is underway. Pakistan claimed that 89 checkposts were destroyed, 18 posts were captured, and 136 tanks and armed vehicles were destroyed. While Afghan Taliban reported at least 19 civilians killed in Kusht and Paktika province.
Following their attacks, according to the casualty figures we have collected up to this morning, we have 13 mujahideen martyred in this fighting and 22 wounded. In one area, 13 civilians were also wounded. Current reports indicate that in Paktika, civilians have also suffered casualties, with several people killed and injured, but the exact number is not yet confirmed.
The clashes forced the closure of the Torkham border crossing, a vital trade route between Pakistan and Afghanistan, leaving long lines of trucks loaded with goods stranded on the roads. Residents described it as a night of terror as shelling forced children and families to flee in panic.
What happened last night was horrific. The Taliban fired heavily from the Afghan side, causing immense suffering to the women and children here.
Afghan Taliban responded with fresh strikes on Pakistani border posts in Kusht and Paktika. Local media reported mortars fired into civilian areas. Afghanistan's Taliban-led defense ministry has released satellite footage showing strikes on multiple compounds inside Pakistan. According to reports, targets included a military camp near Faizabad in Islamabad, headquarters in Nowshera, and facilities in Jamrud and Abbottabad. Pakistani officials, however, reportedly claimed that drones were intercepted by air defense systems, with no casualties reported. In the Jaji Maidan district of Khost province, Taliban armed forces have positioned D-10 howitzer artillery with munitions near the Pakistan border. The deployment follows clashes between Taliban fighters and Pakistani border forces, raising fears of further escalation along the frontier.
The operations carried out by our mujahideen, thank God, were highly successful, and a large number of Pakistan posts were destroyed. If Pakistan once again takes such an action, we are ready once more, with our lives and our wealth.
Meanwhile, the United States has expressed support for Pakistan's right to defend itself against Taliban attacks, but the UK, the United Nations and the Red Cross are urging immediate de-escalation. Diplomats from China, Saudi Arabia and Qatar are working behind the scenes to calm tensions. Iran has also weighed in, calling on both sides to respect sovereignty and refrain from further escalation. Meanwhile, the U.S. mission has issued a security advisory in Pakistan. It warned that due to heightened tensions, Pakistani security forces have increased their presence in major cities. It claimed that law enforcement facilities, military installations, and major commercial centers remained likely targets for terrorist organizations. It also urged American citizens to exercise caution when visiting these locations, especially during peak hours.
The tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan are spiraling pretty dangerously. There is cross-border shelling, there are airstrikes and retaliatory fire. What began as border friction has now erupted into one of the most serious military escalations in years, raising fears of a broader regional crisis. Our next report decodes this conflict that is playing out between two neighbors who at one point of time were very, very close. Pakistan, remember, was the mentor of the Taliban, and the two are having a go at each other. Take a look.
Fire lights up Afghan skies. Fighter jets roar overhead. Missiles slam into military positions. Pakistan has declared an open war against Afghanistan. What began as a series of border clashes over the months has erupted into one of the most serious military escalations. Pakistan carried out airstrikes deep inside Afghanistan. These are the images of Pakistani forces claiming to have captured an outpost inside Afghanistan's border. From Kandahar in the south, where the Taliban's supreme leader Hibatullah Akhundzada is based, to Paktia province in the east, intense bombardment reigned the major cities. At least 3 explosions heard in the capital city of Kabul. For the people caught in the crossfire, horror unfolded when many woke up thinking an earthquake rocked their country. Little did they know their neighbor carried out strikes in the holy month of Ramzan.
We were all asleep when the plane came very low. As soon as I heard the sound of the aircraft, I got up from my place. I saw the plane descend and drop 2 bombs, then it went back up again. It was around 2 a.m. All of us, including the women, ran downstairs.
We were able to take the bodies of 13 martyrs out of the ground, but the bodies of 4 other people are still missing. Machines also came to help find them, and we tried very hard to search.
Soon after the strikes, Afghanistan retaliated. Afghanistan's Ministry of Defense claims that it struck a military camp near the Faizabad neighborhood of Islamabad, as well as army barracks in Nowshera and a military site in Jamrud, both in the Khyber region. Pakistan, on the other hand, says that it struck 22 targets and destroyed 115 tanks. Islamabad says the attacks are in response to militant attacks on Pakistani security forces. But the Taliban government strongly denies that charge. It calls the strike a violation of sovereignty. Both sides claim to have inflicted higher death tolls than their opponent acknowledged. Pakistan military says 274 Taliban fighters have been killed and more than 400 injured in the attacks, a claim Taliban government has denied.
Another issue is that Pakistan claims that last night, more than 100 fighters of the Islamic Emirate were martyred and 200 others were wounded. This claim is completely false. The reason is that last night, we were the ones who carried out the attack, and they were unaware. We did not give them the opportunity to cause us casualties, and the damage that occurred was very limited.
Border districts near Torkham, a critical crossing point, has long been a flashpoint. For years, Pakistan has accused the Taliban government of failing to rein in TTP militants operating from Afghan soil. Kabul says it is ready for dialogue, but for Pakistan, the cup of patience has overflowed. The tense border, 2 neighbors once again at odds, and nations from Iran to China are urging both nations to tone down the tensions. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
4 years ago, when the Taliban stormed back to power in Kabul after America withdrew from the Afghanistan base and the American-backed government collapsed, Pakistan's Prime Minister at the time, Imran Khan, declared this marks the end of slavery. Islamabad was rejoicing. Pakistan was certain that the Maulvi allies it had protected and nurtured in Quetta and other parts would basically install a government, and that would be at the beck and call of Pakistan's army. Today, Pakistan has declared war, not against India, but against Afghanistan. And Afghanistan is teaching Pakistan a sharp lesson. The Taliban have punched back hard. Afghanistan has hit military targets, caused casualties, taken Pakistan prisoners of war. A lot has unfolded. The Pakistan Air Force bombed Kabul and Kandahar. The Pakistan Defense Minister has called Afghanistan a proxy of India. War is raging across both sides. Taliban has claimed 55 Pakistani soldiers have been killed. Islamabad has announced the death of 274 Afghan fighters. And on Thursday night, Kabul attacked across a wide front against the Pakistan military targets along the present border, which Afghanistan, remember, has not formally recognized. Pakistan, in fact, started the war on the 21st of February, in which 18 civilians, Afghan civilians in Nangarhar, and Paktika provinces lost their lives. Pakistan claims it had targeted 7 camps belonging to the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, the TTP. Afghanistan's response was punishing. According to Kabul, 55 Pakistani soldiers were killed, 2 headquarters, 19 checkposts were destroyed, multiple arms were captured. Pakistan's Information Ministry has confirmed Afghan attacks firing at multiple locations, including Khyber Khurram and other parts in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province as well. Escalating the conflict further, in fact, Pakistan's defense minister declared an open war on Afghanistan without providing a shred of evidence. He accused Taliban of being a proxy of India and stressed that Pakistan had lost its patience. Past midnight, residents of Kabul, Kandahar, other parts were jolted awake by sounds of bombs and gunfire as Pakistan launched its operation, as part of which it claimed to have killed 274 Afghan Taliban fighters and injured more than 400 others. Now, in terms of the damage to Afghanistan's military infrastructure, specifically, Pakistan military spokesman has alleged that 73 Taliban posts, 115 tanks, artillery guns and armored personnel vehicles had been destroyed. Additionally, he announced that the core headquarters of the Taliban forces, ammunition depots, logistic bases were targeted. He also confirmed the death of 12 Pakistani soldiers, while adding that another 27 were injured and 1 soldier remains missing. And after a few hours, the extent of the damage across Afghanistan became clear, with the injured being rushed to hospitals, the damage to the infrastructure. Locals recounted their experience on the ground and expressed their anger over the situation.
It was 2 a.m. We were with our friends. They said it might be an explosion or an earthquake. We did not go downstairs in the house. There was a faint sound of gunfire. We waited for a while. Then we got up and went outside.
We were all asleep when the plane came very low. As soon as I heard the sound of the aircraft, I got up from my place. I saw the plane descend and drop 2 bombs. Then it went back up again. It was around 2 a.m. All of us, including the women, ran downstairs.
The situation was particularly worse in the border region, as Afghans put up in a refugee camp in Torkham were forced to flee after being reportedly targeted by the Pakistani military. Listen to this.
Here nearby, a bullet explosives hit. I saw blood. It wounded 2 or 3 children and 2 or 3 women. I don't know about the rest, if the Taliban have taken them or not to the hospital, but the situation last night was bad. We left everything behind.
And the conflict took another dramatic turn as Afghanistan's defense ministry claimed to have conducted airstrikes inside Pakistan at 11 a.m. today. The targets reportedly included key military bases, command centers, strategic facilities across Islamabad, Nowshera, Jamrud, Abbottabad. However, Pakistan disputed this. It instead claimed to have foiled the TTP's attempt to launch small drones in Abbottabad and Nowshera areas of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Meanwhile, several countries around the world have voiced their concern over the escalation in hostilities between the two sides and called for de-escalation. This includes China, Russia, Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Even Iran, which is currently facing the possible risk of strikes by the US, offered to help facilitate dialogue between Afghanistan and Pakistan.
As a neighbor and friend, China is deeply concerned about the escalation of the conflict and deeply saddened by the casualties caused. The intensity of this round of conflict between Pakistan and Afghanistan exceeds that of previous ones, and its continuation or escalation will bring harm and losses to both sides.
Meanwhile, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister spoke with his Saudi Arabian and Turkish counterparts, justifying the military operation as a measure to safeguard Pakistan's sovereignty. But the situation has not calmed down as of now, far from it. Addressing a briefing, the Taliban spokesman, in fact, made a startling revelation while emphasizing that Afghanistan wanted to resolve the situation through dialogue. He also claimed that Pakistani surveillance aircraft are still flying over his country. And in wake of Pakistan's aggression, the Afghan security forces are on high alert, especially personnel operating anti-aircraft guns are keeping a close watch for Pakistani jets near the border. Although Pakistan has a numerical advantage in terms of the numbers of military personnel and combat aircraft, the strength of the Taliban cannot be underestimated, looking at what they have achieved in the recent past. While both sides agreed to a ceasefire in October last year, it is clear that peace remains elusive in the region as of now.
And some breaking news that's coming in, where tensions between Afghanistan and Pakistan have escalated again. There are reports of a second wave of retaliatory attacks by the Afghan forces against the posts of Pakistan's military that have reportedly begun at the Dandpatan district of Paktia. Reports say that the military has now fired mortars into the civilian areas. Meanwhile, in Kosh, the Afghan forces have launched similar operations. Reports also say that the Afghan forces have carried out a new round of attacks on the Pakistani military positions in the border areas of the Kosh province, and the Afghan troops have launched a series of retaliatory strikes in the Pakistani border posts along the demarcation line in the Zazai Maidan district, as well as the Ali Shir and Tirazai districts of the Kosh province. No information on casualties has come forth so far. Now, all of this, of course, is happening a day after Pakistan and Afghanistan had launched strikes and counter-strikes on each other. The Pakistani military says that 274 Taliban fighters have been killed and more than 400 have been injured by the Pakistani attacks. The Afghan army had warned that if Pakistan tries to invade Afghan soil, then it will be met with a decisive response. These, of course, are the latest bit of updates that are coming in with respect to the hostilities between Afghanistan and Pakistan, and there are reports of fresh hostilities that have broken out between the two nations, where there has been a second wave of retaliatory attacks back and forth between the Afghan and the Pakistani forces, and these attacks are predominantly focused in the Dandpatan district of Paktia. The reports further say that the military has fired mortars into civilian areas. Meanwhile, in Kosh, the Afghan forces have also launched similar operations. Reports say that the Afghan forces have carried out a new round of attacks on Pakistani military positions in the border areas of the Kosh province, and the Afghan troops have launched a series of retaliatory strikes on the Pakistani border posts along the demarcation line in the Zazai Maidan district, as well as in places such as the Ali Shir and Tirazai districts of the Kosh province. At this moment, there are no reports on casualties yet. This, remember, is a developing story. More updates are expected, and it now remains to be seen as to where this particular round of confrontation is headed. Because in the last 24 odd hours, the two nations, which one point of time had been very close, especially the Taliban that was mentored, trained and looked after by the Pakistani intelligence agency, the ISI, is now a security challenge for Pakistan. And this is what is playing out in this confrontation between the Afghan Taliban and Pakistan. The reason as to why the two nations are having a go at each other is because Pakistan clearly accuses Afghanistan of fomenting trouble inside the country using the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is a outfit which comprises of many smaller organizations that has been carrying out repeated attacks against the Pakistani state.
Clashes between Afghanistan and Pakistan are intensifying by the hour. Afghanistan government spokesperson Zabiullah Mujahid says that Kabul will respond to every evil act of Pakistan, warning that if Pakistan continues the war, Afghani forces also have the ability to take decisive action against it. He further added that Pakistan's planes are still flying over Afghan airspace. Pakistan military spokesperson has said that 274 Taliban regime officials and militants have been killed since Thursday night. Pakistan has released images of the engagement of Afghan checkpoints. Pakistan claims 115 tanks have been destroyed. 22 selected targets have been hit with carefully vigilance to avoid civilian casualties. It claims 12 Pakistani soldiers have been killed, 27 injured, 1 soldier missing in the clashes with Afghanistan. Earlier, Kabul launched fresh drone strikes on Pakistani targets, specifically on military bases located in Islamabad, Abbottabad, Nowshera, and Jamrud. Pakistan said that its anti-drone system brought down all drones. Pakistan Information Ministry confirmed firing at multiple locations along the border. These include central Khyber, Muhammad Khurram, and Bajur sectors in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Pakistan and Afghanistan share a 2,611-kilometer-long border known as the Durand Line, which Afghanistan has not formally recognized. Pakistan bombed major cities in Afghanistan, including the capital Kabul, on Friday, with Islamabad Defense Minister declaring the neighbors an open war as part of Operation Ghazab Lil Haq. Jets and multiple loud blasts followed by gunfire were heard in the Afghan capital over a period of more than 2 hours. Jets were also heard overhead in Afghanistan's southern city of Nangarhar, where Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzadeh is based. Strikes also hit targets in Paktia province. Afghanistan Army warned that if Pakistan tries to invade Afghan soil, it will be met with a decisive response.
Another issue is that Pakistan claims that last night, more than 100 fighters of the Islamic Emirate were martyred and 200 others were wounded. This claim is completely false. The reason is that last night, we were the ones who carried out the attack, and they were unaware. We did not give them the opportunity to cause us casualties, and the damage that occurred was very limited.
Kabul residents assessed damage to vehicles after air and ground strikes, which hit Taliban military post headquarters and ammunition depots in multiple sectors along the border. Both sides reported heavy losses. The Taliban Defense Ministry claimed that it captured 19 Pakistani military posts and 2 bases. It said 55 Pakistani soldiers were killed. There was an unconfirmed report that a Pakistani jet was shot down. It's very hard to verify figures from both sides. Neighboring country Iran has offered to help to facilitate dialogue between Afghanistan and Pakistan. The Iranian